Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day this morning. And I hope, if you can, you've called your mother or will call your mom. Don't stop and do it right now. But I'm thinking of my mom today, and I want you to see this. This is my mug of choice this morning. It is the Wishing I Was Fishing mug given to me by my mother this Christmas that I love. When I was growing up, we grew up on a lake. And I got to fish all the time, and I've always loved doing that. Matter of fact, as a kid, we would fish with anything. Popcorn, of course, worms, grubs, crickets, anything I could find. And my mom didn't really want to help much bring the fish in or do any of the actual fishing. But I tell you what, my mom can fry up fish. Great. So, Mom, I love you. Happy Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms. And as we get started today, I want to say this too for hurting folks. If you're missing your mom, this morning's message is going to be something that celebrates that love you have for your mom. And if you're a mom who's hurting right now over one of your children, I think this message celebrates the kind of advice and care that we want to give to all of our children. Now, one of the things that I know, this is a dangerous world, and it's a tough world. It's a tough world, I think, especially for mothers, to bring children into such such frail beings into such a tough place. And so anyone who's hurting today, I want to encourage you. I want this message to be upbeat. I want it to be fun. As you can see on the screen now, we're in Proverbs 31. Now, I know Proverbs 31 has been taught a lot at women's conferences and different things. I'm not going to teach it that way today. I don't think this is a standard for women to get up to, and I'll explain to you why. I believe Proverbs 31 is a standard for children to get up to, because Proverbs was written by Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, and he wrote it to train his son, to give wisdom to his children. But here's the thing, Solomon puts all of these different Proverbs together, but at the end, the very last Proverbs, Proverbs 31, is actually written by the mother of Lemuel. Now, we don't know who this king is. My guess is it was maybe a smaller vassal king in the region, but this letter impacted Solomon. This letter that this king's mother wrote to him about the way he should be as a man, matriculated somehow to Solomon, and he used this at the end of Proverbs, I think, as an exclamation point. Because what young boy, especially with that mother-son bond that happens sometimes, what boy especially gets this get-right letter from his mom? Think about your choices. Think about your wisdom. Think about the way you're running your life. And Solomon, being the wise man, put this in at the end. And he put this in at the end. Why? Because he had spent a lot of time giving all this fatherly advice. But at the end, he shares the heart of a mom. The passion of a mom to train her children, the passion of a mom to guide her children, the passion of a mom to care about her children. And if you're watching this stream today for Mother's Day, you know, if you've been around a true mom, you know that heart. That heart is powerful. That heart is passionate. And that heart cares more than anything in the world. Now, men can instruct, we can do what we do, but my wife with our children, she's a force to be reckoned with. And I've seen that mama bear look come on her eyes when she's being protective or she wants something for her children. And I know right away, I'm not talking mama out of it. I believe God blessed me to marry very well. And I see some of the same stubbornness in my wife about some of the things her heart wants as a mom that I saw in my mother, that I saw in my grandmothers. And I love them all as moms. I love seeing my wife as a mom. I loved my mom as a mom. I love you, Mom. And I miss dearly my Grandma Kinner and my Grandma Russells on days like this, because they were the grandmothers of my life. Moms, you're special. And I can never forget as a child, my Grandma Kinner, I think I was her favorite. And whenever I get in trouble, I can still hear her saying, "Oh, no, not my Christopher. Oh, my Christopher." Happy Mother's Day. These are incredible words in Proverbs 31, and I want to share it in a way today that conveys the true meaning of it. But before I jump in and share all of the best advice contained in Proverbs 31 from a mom to her son, to her children, I want to ask you, what's the best advice your mom ever gave you? What's the best advice your mom ever gave you? And I know in my life, the best advice my mom ever gave me is just seek the Lord. Just seek the Lord, Christopher. Just stay close to the Lord. And I'll mention some things from my family as we go through this passage, but I was blessed to have a mom that wanted to push me to the Lord. Not to her, not to others, not to perfection, but to the Lord himself. And I'm always thankful for a mom who prayed for me and encourages me to go to the Lord. I feel closest to my mom when I'm in prayer and when I'm studying God's word, because I know that's what her heart always desired me to do and who she wanted me to be. She didn't know how to handle me. I'm a tough and ridiculous person. I would get dropped off at the pastor's office, and I got prayed for a lot. But the Lord really straightens us out, doesn't he? And Mom, I just say thank you to you as we go into this message today. Anyway, what's the best advice your mom ever gave you? Proverbs 31. We're going to look at a lot of advice through this, and let me set this up just a little bit more. I would say this is a closing poem from a mom, and by the way, it is written in an acrostic. Hebrew acrostic, where each one of the verses has starts with the first letter of the Hebrew language, and it was probably very memorable. It was probably like one of those little poems or little things that you see that somebody can sing song and remember. And I know my mom had some of those little sing song things growing up that helped me and guided me. And I feel like this was given to Lemuel to encourage him to stay on the right path as a young man. And it got passed around because it was so helpful and so encouraging. And I believe Solomon said this, you know what? I've spent all this time trying to lecture my son, but I'm going to let mom have the last word. I'm going to let mom's heart be the key guide. I'm going to let mom's heart be the last kind of punch in this to get the attention of my children and what I want them to be like. And no, women, I don't believe that this passage is all about finding and constructing the perfect woman. It has some of those elements to it, but it's guidance for a child about what to look for in life. And here's the thing, if we're going to look for these things, I also believe Lemuel was being called to be these things, because you can't have something that you're not. My wife is a believer. You know why I got her? Because I wouldn't have dated somebody who wasn't. Because my commitment is such that it brought me to the Lord. Solomon closes out, the wisest man ever closes out the words of Proverbs with the song of a mother's heart. Why does he do that? I believe he does that because he knows that that's the most powerful thing in the world. And the interesting thing is sometimes women get told that they use a lot of words, but here she uses far fewer words than all of the wisest man's words. But I believe these are powerful, and I want to share these with you on Mother's Day because I think they can make an impact on you. I think if you're a mom, you can rejoice in some of these, knowing that this is where your heart is. If you're a growing believer, you can reflect on some of these and maybe sharpen these as you deal with your children. Maybe you can listen to this list as I go through today and think about your mom. And like King Lemuel said, thanks, Mom. Thanks. And that's where we want to end up on Mother's Day, isn't it? We want to end up thanking our moms and considering our moms and remembering our moms. Whatever, if we can't reach out to them, we can still remember the things they taught us. And you know what? I know enough about moms to know they would want you to remember how they wanted their heart to guide you and impact you for the rest of your lives. Now, I want you to listen to this list as I go through it. And I want you to ask yourself, are these things that my mother's heart wanted for me? Or if you're a mom, you can ask, is this what I want for my children? And sharpen that and take that and rejoice in that. And here's the thing, even if you're grieving today, celebrate it. Celebrate the loving and passionate heart of a mom. Now, I'm going to read this a little bit, come back, go through the list of all the great bits of advice from mom that are in Proverbs 31. If you have a different take or something interesting, jot it down, get it to me. I would love to read that today as we celebrate moms. And then at the end, as I get towards the end of the list, I'll put the list up on the screen so you can see it. And I hope it'll be a source of joy today. And, I'm not a list person, but my mom is, my wife is, my grandma is. I know a lot of list people, and moms do that a lot because they have a lot to get done. And this mom in Proverbs 31 made a list for her son here to reflect on. She put it in a poetic form so he could internalize it and have it with him and be a guide for him. And God used this and put this into scripture so that it would have that kind of impact on us. So let's start. And by the way, verse 1 of Proverbs 31 says, the words of King Lemuel, an oracle that his mother taught him. Oh, King, your mother taught you. Happy Mother's Day. Let me read it to you. Proverbs 31. It says, the words of King Lemuel, an oracle that his mother taught him. What should I say, my son? What? Son of my womb? What son of my vows? Don't spend your energy on women or your efforts on those who destroy kings. If it isn't for kings, Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine or for rulers to desire beer. Otherwise, they will drink and forget what is decreed and pervert justice for all the oppressed. Give beer to the one who is dying and wine to the one whose life is bitter. Let him drink so that he can forget his poverty and remember his trouble no more. Speak up for those who have no voice, for the justice of all who are dispossessed. Speak up, judge righteously, and defend the cause of the oppressed and needy. Who can find a capable wife? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of the husband trusts in her, and he will not lack anything good. She rewards him with good, not evil, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from far away. She rises while it is still night and provides food for her household and portions for her female servants. She evaluates a field and buys it. She plants a vineyard with her earning. She draws on her strength and reveals that her arms are strong. She sees that her profits are good and her lamp never goes out at night. She extends her hands to the spinning staff and her hands to the spindle. Her hands reach out to the poor and she extends her hands to the needy. She is not afraid for her household when it snows, for all in her household are doubly clothed. She makes her own bed coverings. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known at the city gates, where he sits among the elders of the land. She makes and sells linen garments. She delivers belts to the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she can laugh at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and loving instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the activities of her household and is never idle. Her sons rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also praises her. Many women are capable, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. Give her the reward of her labor, and let her works praise her at the city gate. Now, isn't that where we are today? Celebrating moms and celebrating characteristics in here of what a great mom is. And I think the queen who wrote this to her king's son, to her prince son at the time, was a great mom. And I think her heart gave all kinds of advice here. And no, I don't think this is the description of a perfect wife. And I don't want to push my wife to do this, because it sounds like she'll be up all night working and sewing. And listen, I love my wife so much. I really would like for some of the household tasks to get done so she can sit down with me and I can enjoy her presence. I love my wife. I don't want her all this busy. I don't want her working this hard. But I can take away some key thoughts from this mother's heart and what she wanted for her son. And I don't know if you heard at the beginning, it starts off with some advice for the son. If he's going to be king, this is how he can be a great king. And moms, I don't know if you've had sons. It doesn't matter, sons or daughters. The first thing in verse 2, it says, what should I say, my son? What son of my womb? What son of my vows? Vows to God. Now, this harkens back to 1 Samuel 1:11. This is the story of Hannah. She wanted a child so badly that she was praying and praying, and she made vows to the Lord. If you give me a son, I will give him back to you. I will give him back to your service. And this is where it starts. A mom's heart here, her best advice is, son, remember, you are the Lord's. I vowed to the Lord when I was carrying you, when I conceived you, before you were born, that I would give you to him, that I would send you in his direction. You're a gift from the Lord that I can return, and I want you safe, and I want you with him. And the first thing this mother tells her son is, remember, you are the Lord's. You're accountable to him. You need to go before him. I made vows to him, and I want you to be his. That's a beautiful thing from a mother's heart. And I love that. The second thing she says in verse 3, this is such practical advice. Don't spend your energy on women or your efforts on those who destroy kings. She's saying, don't be a fool. Don't run after foolish girls and silly time friends. Remember who you are. You're important. You are no fool. My son is not to run with fools because you are no fool. I was told that a few times as a kid when I was hanging out in bad places, and I was always the kid that got caught. Son, we don't expect you to be a fool. You've grown up in a house where you know the difference between foolishness and wisdom. And it goes on perfectly. She says in verse 4, it is not for kings, Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine or rulers to desire beer. Otherwise they will drink and forget what is decreed and pervert justice for all the oppressed. I had it said to me this way as a kid, listen, you'll never find anything wise at the bottom of a bottle, son. I also was told as a child, never make a decision when you're drunk. Matter of fact, don't be drunk so you won't have to make a decision that way. People, when they're drinking, make horrible decisions. And there are many of these times found in the scripture when people were drinking. But you know what? Drinking is no excuse before the Lord to make a dumb decision. Noah, after the ark, planted a vineyard, but he became drunk on the wine. And it cursed one of his sons for laughing at him, seeing him naked in his tent. It was a bad decision. And it was foolishness for a man so great to be in such a sad position, but it was even worse for his son to mock him. She's saying here, be sober and serious because you are going to be king. And in a way, all of us as children grow up to a point where we come in control of our own lives, and our parents want us to make good decisions when we're running the ship, and we're not going to do it when we're in the bottom of a bottle all the time. Matter of fact, she goes on to kind of flesh this out. And she says, give beer to one who is dying and one whose life is bitter. Give him drink so he can forget his poverty and remember his trouble no more. Don't get this wrong. This mother is not suggesting that drink is just for people in bad situations. What she's doing is she's saying to her son, listen, they might be drinking because they want to forget the world, but you need to remember the world and be aware of the world. She's pointing out the differences. And she's saying, I don't want you whining around like you have no hope because you are precious. Remember, he was given back to God. He's the Lord's. He's no fool. And now he is to be sober and serious about his life choices, thoughtful in what he does, and not throw it all away out of bitterness or anger or dwelling at the bottom, because he's not a bottom person. No parent tells their children they're the worst. No loving and kind, godly parent does. Every loving and kind, godly parent knows that children are a gift from God, and each one of us are precious with goals and plans that the Lord has already made for us. Be serious and somber. Verses 8 and 9, she says, speak up for those who have no voice, for justice for those who are dispossessed. Speak up, judge righteously, and defend the cause of the oppressed and needy. She's saying to her son, you need to be compassionate. And I don't believe this just goes for sons. I think daughters too. Parents love it when their children are compassionate and kind and have good hearts. I've had people many times tell me how precious my son Paul's heart is when they meet him. He is a kind and loving boy, and I can always tell them he favors his mother in that regard. My wife is a very kind person, soft-spoken and sweet and wonderful, and she has given a lot of that to her son, and I am proud of that. I'm proud of compassion. I'm proud when Paul sees somebody hurting and he wants to make it better. I think every parent is, especially moms, and they cherish those moments in their heart when they see their son or their daughter being kind to someone. Be compassionate. You're to be compassionate. The fifth thing, and it starts in verse 10, who can find a comparable wife or capable wife? She is far more precious than jewels. You know what this mother is telling her son? Listen, you're going to find somebody who's precious. Do you know why she's telling her son, you need to find someone who's precious, who's special, somebody who's one in a million? She's telling her son that his wife is to be like a precious jewel, just not marry the first person he sees. Do you know why? Because he's precious. So he should treat his choices in life as precious. Find somebody precious because you are my precious boy. Remember, this is being written from a mother's heart to direct her children. And she would say, I think, to a son or a daughter, don't just marry anyone. Find somebody as precious as you are. And I think every parent can relate to this. We don't want our children just running off with whoever. We view our children as special, and we want them to have someone special. You know, I'll tell you, I don't want my daughter to ever get married. But I guess one day she probably will. But I love her so much. And I always pray that she finds a man that respects her and loves her and thinks she's as precious as I do. Because my daughter is one in a million. And I think a mother's heart understands this about her children. They are special. And I don't know if moms always know how to say that. And sometimes through their actions, you may have been frustrated with a mom. But I guess I want you to know that the things on this list are probably things in her heart. And she may not understand how to put them in words, but as I go through this list today, I hope you can reflect on your mother's heart. And I hope you know that you were one in a million, and she wanted whoever you were dating, whoever you were going to marry, to be one in a million too. Verse 11, the heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will not lack anything good. The mom's point here is you should marry someone you trust. Now that's basic dating advice. I've had people come to me before they get married, they're engaged, or they sit down for some counsel, and I'll ask people, do you trust this person? And I had a situation one time where the guy said, I really am not sure I do. And I said, why would you marry somebody you don't trust? Marriage is hard enough. I wasn't trying to break them up, but I would rather somebody break up before they're married than get into marriage and have trust issues. You should marry someone you trust. It's good motherly advice. If you don't trust her, if the girl doesn't trust the guy, whatever the trust situation is, it needs to be resolved. I trusted my wife 100% before we got married, and I didn't understand why anybody would question trust. Now, over the years, marriage has its ups and downs. I still trust her, but over time, there have been a few times we ask each other. We have to talk about things. But I'm so glad when we were dating, when we were engaged, that I can say I fully trusted her. And we've had to work things out, but I trust her today more than I ever have before. Marry someone you trust. Verse 12, she rewards him with good, not evil, all the days of her life. And then after this, from 13 to 24, it goes into all the different ways that she benefits him. That she cares for her home. And you probably heard it. You can look at it again. She selects wool and flax and works with her willing hands. She's like a merchant ship bringing food from far away. There are so many things in this list. And sometimes people, I think, get caught up in this list from 13 to 24. But remember, this is the mother's heart, talking about all the things that she wants for her son. And if she wants him to marry somebody who is so hardworking in all of these areas, in all of these verses, do you think a lazy guy would be a good fit for a woman who's so active? No. I think in 13 through 24, she is really telling her son, you're going to need to be busy because marriage takes a lot of work by both people. And I also think this mom is giving a little insight into herself, what she wanted to be, what her aspirations were, the things she wished she could have done to have been a great mom, to have been a great partner. And all of this hard work, I'll tell you what, the woman that she paints a picture of here is informed and industrious, is wise, insightful, is a producer. And I love some of the things she says here. They make so much sense to me. If you gave a woman who loves her family so much, if her kids didn't have clothes and you gave her some material, her kids would have clothes. If you gave her a bunch of fruits and vegetables, she would turn that into a meal. And I've been surprised over the years when we're on the go, or we're doing things, I'm all over the place kind of a person. I have a lot of people I want to meet with and places I want to go. Well, not right now as much, but my wife can make anything into a meal for the kids. She will take that food, arrange it on the plate, and make it a meal. Even if it's fast, even if it's on the go, even if we don't have much, she will be able to creatively take things and make a meal. My wife has been able to take the house we bought, and she makes it into our home. Our home. Now, I don't know how a woman's heart can fill something that's dead like material and turn it into something active like wearable clothes, or some ingredients from a shopping list to make it into a meal that satisfies, or something bland like an empty home or empty house and turn it into a wonderful home with children playing and hearts happy. But that's what my wife is capable of, and that's what this woman of faith is telling her son to trust his wife to do. So what does he have to do? He has to come home and appreciate his spouse. She's saying, listen, appreciate your spouse. Be hardworking too. A man has to have character to handle this type of woman that he's painting, that she's painting. And mom has a heart here for the family to come, because she's had a family and she has a heart for the next family. Over the years, I've had a couple different occasions where I've talked to couples that are frustrated because a mom or a mother-in-law is involved in their home too much, telling them how to sort things out in the kitchen or do things. And one of the hardest things is when you raise a child, to let them go. Now, we're not there yet, so I can say it's hard, but I haven't experienced that. But I want to give some compassion to that. It can be hard. But this mom is saying, these are things that it's going to be a lot of work, and I want your house to be a home, and you need to be the kind of son who has character to handle a woman of this kind of character. Now, parents, don't you want your children to be people of character, of good character, so they can find somebody of good character and build a home and a family of good character? And that's what this is about. This mom isn't wanting this to try to fit some girl she doesn't know yet into some kind of mold, or to pressure you from a biblical perspective. She's saying to her son, you need to be hardworking. You need to be industrious and informed and insightful. You need to appreciate the production that happens when you see it happening in your family. If you want her to appreciate you at the city gates, you need to appreciate what she's doing in your life. These are wise words on how to guide this young man into a good relationship when he's older. And that's what moms want for their children. They want us to have the best relationships possible. Now, I want to focus on verse 25, 26, 27 here on a key thing. On a key thing in these three verses, but I'm going to actually drop down to 30 first before I back up to 25, 26, 27 and explain why I see this in these verses. And of all the things I'm saying today, I think this is the most precious advice from this mother. In verse 30, she says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord will be praised. A woman who fears the Lord will be praised. She's saying she wants her son to marry a believer. You know who marries a believer? A believer. And she's saying, if you want this, you need to be this. Back up to verse 25. Strength and honor are her clothing. She can laugh at a time to come. You know why this woman isn't worried about the future? You know why this mom wants her son to marry somebody who's not worried about the future? Because her son and his wife are both trusting the Lord for the future. We can't control the future, and there will be things that happen in our future that we'll need the Lord's power and strength to make it through. This mother knows that he needs to be a person of faith and to be with a person of faith so that they're not consumed with worry over the future. She wants them to seek the Lord and seek the Lord together. And not just seek the Lord together, but verse 26, she opens her mouth with wisdom and loving instruction is on her tongue. This woman speaks the word of the Lord. And you know what? She seeks the Lord and she speaks the Lord, and her husband joins her in that. He joins her in the chorus of that. She doesn't do this alone. He encourages the seeking of the Lord. He encourages the speaking of the Lord. One of the greatest things for me as a husband and as a pastor is I want to guide my family, but I'm not their pastor. I'm dad. I'm husband. I'm best friend. I'm in charge in a way, but I don't want to boss them. It needs to be their faith. And I'm so happy when I see my wife reading the word on her own. I've never coerced that, and I don't push my children into it. I believe people should make their own free choices. And I struggle, like we all do sometimes, to be the example. And when I read this, I think, how can I encourage my family to seek the Lord as I seek him? How can I encourage my family to speak the Lord as I speak him? And in verse 27, she watches over the activities of her household and is never idle. She watches her household. You know, during this time with everything going on, I've tried to watch my household. I've tried to watch, are my kids getting too upset? Is there something we need to go take a ride or do something to blow off some steam? Are people getting worried? Are people getting concerned? I need to watch that. And my wife helps me with that. Because we seek the Lord and we speak the Lord. But the third thing is we see the Lord. We look for him to interact in our home and to guide us in our daily life. And I believe this woman of faith, if she was truly seeking the Lord, she was also seeing the Lord at work in her life and her family members. And that's so important, to seek, to speak, and to see the Lord. There's a lot from verse 25 to 30. And that's the 8th thing on my list. But number 9, and we're at the bottom. Number 9 is found in verses 28 and 31. Her sons rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also praises her. And then verse 31, give her the reward of her labor, and let her works praise her at the city gates. Now, that's where we are today. That's what Mother's Day is all about. Mother's Day is a thank you to Mom. It's a thank you to Mom for all of these things. It's a thank you to Mom to say, listen, you told me I'm the Lord's, right? Thank you, Mom. You prayed for me. You care for me. You said I was the Lord's. Mom, thank you. You said I'm no fool, that I need to make wise decisions. You said I need to be sober and serious about the choices I make in my life. Mom, you said I need to be compassionate. Mom, you told me I was one in a million. Mom, you said I should marry someone I trust. Mom, you said I should work hard and marry a hard worker. Mom, you said that my spouse and I should seek the Lord, speak the Lord, and see the Lord at work in our lives. Mom, you said I should be thankful. I should be thankful for moms. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. On this Mother's Day, I want to say thank you to all the moms. And I want to thank the mother of Lemuel, because I think all of the things on the list that you see are all things that a mom who loves the Lord cherishes. Now, I have one question about this whole passage. It says in verse 23, her husband is known at the city gates, where he sits among the elders of the land. Listen, this wife, a good godly wife, when you're a man who's trying to follow the Lord, why would you be at the city gates? Why wouldn't you want to rush home? You know, with everything going on, I love being home with my wife. And I love seeing her as a mom. And it brings back good memories sometimes to see how she interacts with the kids. To remember my mom, my wife took the kids to the duck pond the other day, and I remember going to the duck pond with my mom as a kid. Thank you, Mom. I don't know what memories you have. I don't know which thing on this list that reminded you of your mom. I know one of these items did, maybe more than others. But if you're a mom and you're watching, I hope this encourages you. If you have a great mom, I hope this encourages you. I hope this was an encouragement to you. And I want to tell you, this list is not the creation of a perfect mom. This list is what a mom's heart, as the Lord gets hold of it, begins to want and yearn and have for her children. And I want to tell you, we always talk about God as Father, and He is. But God made women, and He made them special. And He gave them special superpowers to have children, to have impact on those children, and to have a heart for their children in a way that I'm not sure men always do. And I want you to know the Lord understands this. Solomon understood this. And the key capper at the end of Proverbs is a mother's note to her son about who he should be and who the Lord needed to create in him and what the Lord was trying to do with him to make a plan for his life. And mothers, I want to tell you, and all those who relate to mothers, I want to tell you that this is a good list of what the Lord wants to do in your life. If there's something on this list that you as a child of God are not doing, you need to listen to a mother's heart and get right. Your mother would not be upset about you following anything on this list, because all the things on this list will make you a better child of God. And on Mother's Day, I want to tell us that we're all children of the Father, and we all need to listen to this mother's list, and we all need to get right, and we all need to call our mom and thank her for something if we can. And if we can't, we need to live right as a way to thank her. And, I know she would enjoy that. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Remember all these. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to pray right now that anyone who sees this, that they'll take a minute and thank you for their mom. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray for moms that are hurting, or folks that are hurting because they miss their mom, that something on this list would have made them very happy today. But Father, my greatest prayer is that as we look and reflect on this list, that our hearts would get right before you, and that we would follow this mother's advice, and we would honor her, and in a way we would be able to thank her, because getting right with you in all of these different ways really matters. Father, help us to be molded and guided by you. If there's anybody watching who needs encouragement on following Christ or becoming a believer, I pray they would reach out and that I'd be able to help them, Father. All we need to do is just say, Lord Jesus, come into my life. Forgive me of my sins and take me somewhere where I can learn more about you. And Father, I believe they'll be saved, and I believe they will get guided to somewhere where they're going to learn more about your word and your ways. Dear Heavenly Father, be with us and be with all the moms this Mother's Day. Father, thank you for a mother's heart. You could have just left it all in the hands of men, and I'm so thankful you didn't, Father. You made Mom, and you told us to praise her when she does things like this. Father, thank you for the true and beautiful heart of a mother. We can't see it, but we know we're around it. Help us to grow in you as a mother's greatest desire. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, okay, my friends. As I always say, keep it together until we're together. I'm hopeful in the next week or two I'll be able to post some things. We'll be able to start having some meetings again, actually, in our church facility that we're still paying rent on. That's neither here nor there. But, well, I miss you. The new newsletter should be going out later this next week. So if you'd like that and you're not already on my list, if you didn't get it last month, let me know. I can send it to you. Also, the 30-day devotional is going to be getting done this week as well. We're very busy around here at Journey, so that'll come out. So here's the other challenge I issued earlier this week. Please, moms, if you like this video, let me know. Like it. Share it with your children if you want them to get right with the things on this list, and leave me some comments. I'm fueled by those. I like the feedback. I really miss seeing faces and talking to people after services. I really enjoy that part. So if you could do me a favor, and if there's something on your mind or something you want to share, reach out to me, and I sure would appreciate it. So anyway, any questions, comments, let me know. Thank you so much. I love you all, and I hope to see you soon.